So good afternoon to all of you, and I thank especially Kim for the nice introduction to my talk, which is, do we have experience in piglets with Ingelvac Provenza that have been fed with colostrum? I'd like just to start with the background of maternal antibodies. We all know they come from the dam via the colostrum to the piglets. They are composed of IgG antibodies, and they are absorbed into the bloodstream within the first 24 hours of life. We know the amount of maternal antibodies is highly variable in a population of pigs. And this is due to the dam status because they may have different influenza exposure strategies or different influenza vaccination programs in place. And individual piglets may have different amounts of maternal antibodies depending on the amount of colostrum consumed, the time when they consumed the colostrum, and because of cross-fostering. So the role of maternal antibodies or immunity in influenza has been pretty well described by Jim Roth. And he said that passively transferred IgG antibodies in the colostrum can protect the neonatal piglet for several weeks after birth. But this is only if the antibody to the hemagglutinin is a close match to the field strain. The duration of immunity depends on the titer of the antibody in the cell and the amount transferred to the piglet. And a mismatched antibody to the hemagglutinin can cause the already described VERT. So when we talk about the ideal influenza vaccine, I found a nice statement in the chapter 19 of the second edition of Animal Influenza from last year by Christian van Riet, Vincent and Lager. And it said, the ideal influenza vaccine should induce the broadest immune response possible and overcome interference from maternally derived antibodies. And then there's also a statement that live-attenuated influenza virus vaccines, LIAV, are among the most promising candidates. So what we wanted to do with this study is to answer two key questions. The first was, does Ingelvac Provenza reduce clinical disease from heterologous H1 and 2 and H3 and 2 challenges despite the presence of maternal antibodies in piglets ferret from influenza-positive sows? And how long do piglets with maternal antibodies that were vaccinated with Ingelvac Provenza shed challenge virus in comparison to those without maternal antibodies? So, and this was a joint effort study between R&D and marketing. So what we did, in essence, we took the experience from our R&D colleagues and used for the challenge viruses the one that had been used in the R&D studies already described by Rex. So we used two heterologous challenge viruses, an H1 and 2 challenge virus from the gamma cluster, and an H3 and 2 challenge strain from the cluster 4. We had a quite busy study design. Okay. We had 3 big challenge groups, one H1 and 2 at 4 weeks of age, 1 and 3 and 2 at 5 weeks of age, and another H1 and 2 challenge at 9 weeks of age. Each challenge group had 4 subgroups with 2 serostatus, both seropositive and seronegative animals. And within each serostatus, we had vaccinates and non-vaccinated controls. The purpose of this study was not to compare seropositive versus seronegative animals. They came from different sources, had different genetics, different disease history, of course. So we only wanted to compare within a serostatus the difference between vaccinates and non-vaccinates. We did an intratracheal challenge, as described already by Dr. Smiley, and we euthanized the piglets 5 days post-challenge. We had a huge discussion as to how to allocate, randomize, and block the animals within the seropositive animals. The seropositive animals had a history of influenza sow vaccination. We did not take into consideration the product used, but we only took into consideration the NP ELISA. So animals were randomized and blocked by NP ELISA. We knew that maternal antibodies would decline over time, but before challenge, we made sure that the seropositive animals still were seropositive. What we saw right after vaccination, and we expected this because it's an intranasal vaccination, that there was no seroconversion following intranasal vaccination with Ingelvac Provenza. So, after challenge, in all 3 challenge studies, all pigs exhibited, following challenge, fever of 40 degrees centigrade for 1 day. The clinical symptoms were minimal to absent in the vaccinated pigs, and the fever lasted only 1 day in the vaccinated groups. And also we didn't see a lot of respiratory signs in these vaccinated groups. In all 3 heterologous challenge studies, there was a statistical significance with the number of animals shedding challenge virus between vaccinated and non-vaccinated control groups. We did this by virus isolation of the nasal swabs, and the duration of challenge virus shedding between vaccinated and non-vaccinated control groups was reduced. If we look at the first H1 and 2 challenge at 4 weeks of age, I would like you to focus on the purple bars and the blue bars. The purple one are the seropositive control animals. The blue ones are the vaccinated seropositive animals. What you can see here is that there was a significant difference between the number of animals that were seropositive and vaccinated that shed virus after 3 days post-challenge compared to the animals that were seropositive and non-vaccinated. In the H3 and 2 challenge, we had a similar result. There were significantly fewer maternally antibody positive and vaccinated animals that shed virus after 2 days post-challenge compared to the seropositive non-vaccinated piglets. The blue bars here are the number of pigs that shed challenge virus following challenge. The purple ones are the non-vaccinated ones. And for the second H1 and 2 challenge at 9 weeks of age, we have again the same effect as with the first H1 and 2 challenge. We had significantly fewer maternally antibody positive and vaccinated animals that shed virus after 3 days post-challenge compared to maternally antibody positive and non-vaccinated animals. So, we have, with vaccination of Ingelvac Provenza, less animals that shed challenge virus following challenge, but we also see an effect how long they shed. And now the blue column is the first H1 and 2 challenge at 4 weeks of age. The red one, the H3 and 2, and the green one, the second H1 and 2 challenge. What you can see here, and the second group is the seropositive controls, and the third one, the seropositive and vaccinates one, is that a maternally antibody-positive Ingelvac Provenza vaccinated pigs demonstrated a significant reduction in median virus shedding days after each heterologous challenge. So the median duration of shedding was maximum of 1 day. So, and with this, I'm done, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you. Why you use two flu influenza virus old? What means that you use at least 10 years old virus in the challenge model? That means are pre-pandemic virus and don't have inside the virus the Euroasiatic fragment that produce a very different virulence in the flu virus. Why?
The reason we took these challenge viruses was to ensure consistency with our R&D studies that we did before. Development of vaccines doesn't happen overnight, so we needed a magnetic north to compare our data with our existing experience. So this is not the only study that will be done for Ingelvac Provenza, but for us as a reference point, it was important to refer to strains that we had used in previous research studies.
And second question. In the case of the shedding after the vaccination and the challenge, you check that the virus that shedding the pigs are the same than in the beginning, or you find some difference in the genetic analysis?
I need to ask my co-author, Mark Eichmeier. I think we didn't find any difference.